right, welcome back everybody to another edition of Chasing Ghosts. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to record this week because a cold has kind of been wearing me down this 4th of July weekend, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to get anything done this week. But I'm going to tough it out, see if I can get a couple things recorded to get some content out because I feel a tiny bit better. But I seem to be bouncing back a little bit. Hopefully I can still make tomorrow's live show with Marco because we plan on talking about some video games from 1986, which I'm really looking forward to. So, but that being said, hopefully you're enjoying the content here on the channel. We passed 700 subscribers, so I got a giveaway going on this week. You still got a couple of chances to get some more bonus entries if you haven't entered already. You got a choice between 2 prize packs. It really looks like that David Nakayama Scarlet Witch is running away with it right now, but there's still time. If you guys want to make a strong push for the Cobra Kai books, you still can. And just remember, whichever package doesn't win as the prize for this go-around will get put in the pile for the 1,000 subscriber giveaway. So those will still be given away. It'll just be done at a later date. So again, if you like the content, please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss any of the content on the channel. Please tell a friend. Let's get some more subscribers as we're already 25% of the way to 800, and I'll give away some more stuff. I got plenty of more books to give away, and I love doing it, and I'm having a lot of fun. So hopefully you guys are too, and just hang on for a second, and I'll be right back with this week's Ghosts. All right, so what do we got going on this week? This week I got another little hodgepodge of books that I just kind of put together that I thought were kind of interesting. And our first entry is a reader suggestion, or viewer suggestion, I should say, not reader. A viewer suggestion from Goat99, who threw out a couple of weeks ago that we should be looking at this Wonder Woman 28 steampunk variant. And I agree. This is a gorgeous book. I wish I had it. I do not yet have it. I am on the hunt for one. But this is one that's been on my watch list for a while now. And yeah, just something I'd love to have, and just one you don't see come up all that often. Now, gorgeous cover. J.G. Jones really outdid himself with this cover. I know the whole month DC did a bunch of these steampunk covers, and only a couple of them actually kind of hit, the Wonder Woman being one, and I think the Batgirl's another good one to keep an eye out for. But, I mean, if you can find any of these kind of theme variants from this time frame, I'd grab them as long as they're cheap enough, because they're not easy to find in any sense of the word. But that being said, let's look at the actual print run numbers on this guy. On this one, this has an estimated print run of about 31,464, which is not that small. And this is February 2014. So, you know what? That's not that tiny of a print run. And a 1 in 25 on that means that there's 1,258 copies potentially still out there to be found. I think the trouble here is that a lot of copies are already in people's collections and they don't want to give them up. So that is also a sense. It doesn't have to be print run. Print run doesn't just have to be minuscule to make a book a ghost. If a book's just not available because nobody wants to give up theirs, that makes it a ghost as well, at least in my book. Because if I can't get a hold of one, then how am I going to find it, you know? But let's take a quick look over at the census. And yeah, the census kind of doesn't have that many in there. 67 is not a lot, really, when you consider, over 1,200 copies, and only 67 have been brought to CGC for grading. That's kind of curious to me. Only 21 made it as 9/8, and then a lot of 9/6s and 9/4s, 19, 11, 12. I mean, 67 copies, again, isn't that many for a book that has potentially, over 1,200 copies. Again, that number is just a guesstimate off of estimate print runs, so there's no solid numbers to know exactly how many copies there are. All I know is that this book is hard to find, and right now, there aren't even any listed for sale when I was looking. None listed for sale. And when I look back at the last 3 months, I only found 2. Both best offers accepted on $400 asks, so I got to imagine it's still $350, $300 plus, payouts on these, which is not cheap, but, this book just doesn't come up. Now, don't be fooled. There is a trade paperback, I think like a German trade paperback that's up right now that looks just like this, has the same cover. I thought it was like, oh, there's a copy for 400, but no, that's a trade paperback. So reprints and foreign issues and foreign covers and trades and things like that are definitely ways that you might be able to get a cover that you might not be able to afford or find, but just make sure you know what you're looking at when, when you're looking for this kind of stuff out there. Just be mindful, pay attention, look at the listing, and make sure you know what you're buying, basically. But again, this is a great cover and one that I really wish I had in my collection, and hope to find it one day at a price that I'm willing to pay. Because again, a couple $100 is pretty steep for a 1 in 25, regardless of how nice it is. Just saying. So what do we got next? Our next book is one that was a personal favorite of mine. This was a grail, I guess you would say, that I was hunting for a while, and I finally got myself one not that long ago. I bought it raw, sent it in to get graded, didn't have any sense of what the grade would be. I knew it wasn't a 9.8, just didn't really care what the grade would come back. Came back as a 9.0. I'm plenty content with that. It's just I wanted a copy. I looked and looked and looked, couldn't find one. One came up for sale, and I had the money to pay for it, so I bought it. And I said, like, I just sent it off to get graded in last CGC submission, just to get it slabbed so I could put it away with my other Hughes books in my Adam Hughes collection, because I'm a big Adam Hughes fan. But this book is tough, I will admit. Even the regular cover. This is a 1 in 10, but the regular one is tough as well. Like, good luck for even finding those. But the print run on this first issue of Uncharted from DC back in November of 2011 is only a little over 6,000. 6,100 is not that big a print run. So when you do the math on that, that means this 1 in 10 has a max of 617 copies. 617, it really isn't a lot, especially for a book that a lot of people have been looking for. Apart from it being hard to find variant, apart from it being a pretty cool Adam Hughes cover, and apart from the fact that it's a popular game series that now has a movie adaptation coming, starring a certain Spider character, taking that mantle. This has all the potential of being a book that kind of goes up even more than where it's at now. Just be mindful of that. It's just there's a lot of bites at this apple. This has a lot of different markets and groups of people who would be interested in this, not just comic book collectors. So those are the types of books you kind of want to invest in, I guess, if you want to invest, or just look at, because you want to have as many opportunities to have people looking at that book to want to add to their collection as possible if you're looking to sell it. I'm not looking to sell this. This is not going anywhere. This is mine. But if that's something you were looking into, just keep that kind of thing in mind. Let's go over to the census. The census only has 13 copies, and only 198. 198 is it's kind of crazy when you think about it. But I don't know how up to date this census might be, because I don't know if these two 9.0s include mine yet or not, or what. But only 13 show up when you search the CGC census on this book, which is very, very tiny, very, very little. Now, you want to go hunt this book. There's one out there, and it could be that 198. $5,000. That's a pretty steep ask, but stranger things have happened. There's plenty of books these days that kind of reach that mark. That's a new milestone, new tier marker now for books, which I find crazy, but that's the market we're in. Books are getting more and more expensive every day. Every day that goes by, they're getting more expensive. Will they, price correct, come down? I don't know. I don't want to speculate on that. These are numbers. These are big numbers that I don't like to play around with. So I'm just putting the information out there. There's a copy out there for $5,000 if you are that interested in a 9.8 of this book, which is, one, not easy to find in any condition, let alone what could be the 198. Actually, this is CBCS, so I don't know. I don't have the CBCS census up to see how many are there, but we know there's only one in the CGC census in 9.8, so not a lot. Definitely not a lot. But that's what's out there if you want to buy it. And what has sold, my sale, which I did get it on eBay, and I'm not ashamed to admit what I paid for it. I paid $400 for it, raw, as I said, because it was tough. I had it, so I bought it. This 9.8 that did sell June 9th sold for almost $4,000. So that looks like there is the CGC 9.8 that sold $4,000. So one sold for $4,000 is $5,000. Really that crazy of an ask now for the next one? Probably not. Like I said, this book has a lot of room, or maybe not a lot of room, but it's got potential to still go up with everything still coming down the pike related to Uncharted and the very limited number of copies available. Just saying. Again, still glad I got one when I did. It's not going anywhere. This is my copy. Happy to have it. And let's go on to the next book. And our next book is another one I'm only aware of it because of Ben Stein, I believe, doing an article a while back on this Ghostbuster Taxi Drive homage, this Ghostbuster 14. This is also a 1 in 10, and this is just an awesome cover. I really dig this. I wish I could find one. The Ghostbuster series, they did some fun homages. IDW as a whole has done a lot of fun homage covers with their variants, and a lot of these are pretty good. And this being one of them. And I think Paul Paul grabbed one of these not too long ago as well, and I think it was a good pickup because this book is not easy to find. This one, we got an estimated print run about 7,100, and this came out in October of 2012. So we're getting close to a decade on this book that's been out there, and the regular cover only had a little over 7,000. So that means this 1 in 10 has maybe 713 copies out there. Once again, that's not a lot of copies, and a lot of fans of you have Ghostbuster fans, you have homage cover fans, you have hard to find variant fans looking for this, you have taxi driver fans potentially looking for this. Like, again, books that have a lot of different points of interest tend to find themselves on the upswing constantly because there's different groups looking at it. When we look at the census on this book, CGC census is 19.2. So, not an easy book to find. One would think if there were a lot of copies out there sitting in people's hands that they would be sending these off to get graded as well to see if they can get that first 9.8 and really set the market ablaze. But hasn't happened yet. Hasn't happened yet. Now, when we look over on the market for this book, I will say I did find 3. There are 3 out there, but they aren't cheap. We're talking anywhere from $270 to $650 asks, all raw copies. So you know, who knows what condition is definitely going to arrive to you in. Apart from the pictures of what's listed, it has to go through shipping. Things happen. Never know. So that's also a gamble when you buy something raw. That's just one of those things. It's just a price of doing business on eBay and price of doing business online. Is you never know how something's going to arrive to you, despite what pictures look like out there. Just keep that in mind. But those are the 3 copies that are out there, and have no copies sold in the last 3 months that I could gather numbers for. As I said, I think Paul W. he grabbed one, I think at a lot, so he did pretty well in scooping one up there at a decent price, and one that I would definitely like to buy and definitely like to add to my collection as well. This is just, again, one of those cool covers that it's got a lot of fans and a lot of interest and a lot of different bites of that apple to keep itself, on that upswing. Just saying, that's just my take on it. I could be right, I could be wrong. Who knows? You make your own decisions based on that. But I do got one more book for you. And my last book that I want to present to you is a fun little book that I was going to cover as part of an old Usual Suspect article idea on recalled comics and giveaways, mail-aways. And this is a mail-away book. This Wolverine 145 is a limited edition from Nabisco, where you actually had to mail in, basically box tops. You had to basically mail in the UPCs to get yourself a copy of this book. Now, how many people actually did that? Went and copied, cut up box tops, basically, put them in an envelope with a stamp, mail it away with the, the entry ticket thing you had to do, and got a copy of this book. I wouldn't think that there would have been a lot, but apparently I could be wrong. Print run, God only knows. There's no way I could find a print run on this. This is a mail-away book. Who knows how many people entered this contest, this giveaway, or whatever. But this is December 1999, so no idea. No idea on the print run on this thing. But what we can see is that there are quite a number of copies in the census. I was actually astounded to find that there are 562 copies of this book graded. Graded. I get it. 1999 was a long time ago, and that's a lot of time for books to get sent in and get graded, but I had no idea that there'd be 562 copies of this book out there, considering what it was, a Nabisco mail-away book, but to have that many graded, it's crazy to me. Only 79 of them made it in that 9.8, bulk of them being in the 9.6 at 244, and then another 100 or so in 9.4, and then so on down the list. But 562 copies in the census. That is a lot. Not really a lot, but it's a lot in comparison to the things we talk about here when we're talking about ghosts. So, just keeping that kind of in perspective. You look at this book, it's got a really cool cover. I dig it. I would love to have one as well. And you can find this out there. Here's a couple of copies that are available. It ain't cheap, though. Definitely ain't cheap. 9.6, somebody asking $2K. There's a 9.2 signed by Stan Lee that's asking $1,400, and then a $1,200 9.4. Pricey. It's a pricey book. But again, Nabisco mail-away book. Not the easiest thing to find. Keep an eye out for it. You never know. Could find a way into like a cheap box somewhere, a back issue bin, where an LCS might not know that this was a Nabisco mail-away. They buy a lot. They buy a collection off of somebody. They think it's just a regular copy of 145. Throw it in a box and think nothing of it. But this cover is tough. Definitely tough. And if you want to look at some of the sale prices, here are some that went. CGC SS 9.6, about $2,000. 9.0 graded, 700 raw, best offer at 525, somewhere in there. And then there was an auction that had 44 bids that got it all the way up to 425. So definitely not a cheap book. A few $100s for this raw, potentially, 1 to 2K on graded, depending on the grade that you're looking for. Definitely a pricey book and one to be aware of. But like I said, still a lot of copies in that census and an unknown print run. So that makes it, to me, seem like this isn't going to ghost. So I'm going to qualify this one as being hard to find. That's just my personal call on it, just because of that high number of what I feel is a high number of graded copies in the census. So I'm going to call this one hard to find, as opposed to the other three that we just talked about. And those three, I will give them my ghost qualification, because just the low print runs and the low possibilities of finding these books and the low opportunities to find these books make these feel like they are ghosts to me. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully you still enjoy this series and you are interested in these books that I like talking about. Thanks for stopping by. As you saw, I take suggestions. You guys got books you want to recommend, I add them to my list. I got a huge list. We got weeks and weeks and weeks of content still to go, but I'm happy to take all of your suggestions and work them in where I can, fit them. So please make those comments. I love the engagement from the audience. And yeah, thanks for stopping by, and I will see you guys next time.